Hello and welcome to the York Creators Podcast. My name is Ben Porter, and each week you can join me as I chat to someone from York's creative community. This week's guest is Dani Barge. Dani is a professional writer, occasional artist, and hobbyist-based guitarist. She is the founder and editor of Arts York, an arts and culture webzine covering art, design, music, performing arts, and film. We chat about her approach to building stories, the ups and downs of following creative pursuits, and the grassroots activities currently going on in York. So Dani, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me about your first memorable experience of the arts.
So the arts have very much been kind of part of my psyche since I remember having memories, as it were. So from when I was a child, my mum used to play lots of like Michael Jackson and Madonna CDs.
Cool.
I still have a soft spot for 80s Madonna. But as a child, I'd do things like I got really into The Little Mermaid and used to make people draw pictures of her for me till I started trying to draw myself, to the point where when we had to do this like school tea towels and you had to like draw a self-portrait, I drew a mermaid and I was like, oh, that's definitely me. And the writing came alongside that as well. Like writing is very much the central kind of artistic passion that I have. So throughout my childhood, I just kept like writing lots of stories and stuff, like I'd come up with ideas for, well, I want to say novels, but I'd get through about chapter 1 and give up, and I'd also like draw comics and stuff.
So how did you learn to draw? Was it just trial and error, or did you have like a particularly good art teacher, or?
No, I just watched other people draw and just kept doing it until like, because I think with a lot of things I prefer to kind of teach myself than get taught, although I did have like good like GCSE art teachers, but generally like it's lots of self-taught. I have to like see something that I want to recreate myself to do it.
So what about writing? Like, what is it about writing that really interests you?
I really don't know where it's come from, to be honest. I think again, like from childhood, I started writing stories because I don't even know. I think I just liked how lots of like Disney films and storybooks I read were written. I kind of wanted to, if I saw something I liked, I wanted to do it, type thing. Early on, it was all about writing short stories and, well, not novels, but starting novels. And then as I got older, I got more interested in like journalism and copywriting, and I started going more in that direction. And that's kind of been the basis for, well, that's what I started following when I was in university, and it's become the basis for my career since.
That's often how it goes, isn't it? I mean, I remember I've got hard drives upstairs full of hundreds of unfinished songs. I kind of always thought I'd end up doing music, but then through music I kind of worked my way into film, and then now I end up doing that. So it's interesting how one thing always leads to another, particularly with creative stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes you can, as you'll have seen from working in film, it all kind of can come back together in the end as well.
So how does it feel to be able to write for a living? Because that's something that quite a lot of people would aspire to do.
It's really, really good. I mean, sorry, that's like the most obvious thing to say. But I think it's because it's one of those things where everybody needs like money to keep going. But I think a lot of creative people, if they're not doing the thing creatively that they want to do, then it really starts to affect them. And certainly for me, whenever like I'm not writing, or whenever I wasn't writing for a living or writing as frequently as I'd like to, I just get constantly really tired all the time and just really sad. So being able to write all the time is just fantastic.
There's something good about being put on a deadline as well. Being given maybe things that you wouldn't usually write about. It kind of stretches you, doesn't it? Yeah,
definitely. You have to research and learn about things that you wouldn't normally know about. I don't know if that's kind of a sort of Stockholm syndrome left over from school, but I love just continually learning about new things. So I've written about stuff from like corporate governance through to like cat care, basically.
So you must read a lot as well. What are you reading at the moment?
I'd like to say I'm reading 1984, but I've been going through that so slowly. But you have to read that book because it's a sort of highly regarded piece of literature and a really good book. Other than that, I'm very typically getting pulled into various like internet articles and stuff like that. For some reason, I really enjoy reading opinion pieces more than anything, even though I inevitably get annoyed with a lot of stuff. But yeah, lots of internet articles.
So tell me about the history of Arts York then. When did you set it up and what was your motivation behind it?
So I think I had an idea lurking in the back of my head for a while because I wanted to be a journalist when I was at university, and I wanted to write about, well, I couldn't decide between music and film.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd started like a bit of an idea going about pulling like lots of creative disciplines together into one publication. And ideally I wanted to stay in York if possible because I just really like it as a city. And I suppose I could have set that up any time, but what really gave me the push was I needed to do a portfolio piece for my master's degree in web journalism. So that was as good a time as any to get going. So I just set it up and started writing. And after I'd finished the degree, I still enjoyed it. So after like taking a break to get a day job in writing, I started it up again. And just, it's kind of snowballed a bit since then.
So you've got other people writing for you now as well?
Yes, the main person to mention is somebody called Anna Rose James, who is also an actor and very prevalent on the theatre scene in York, and her work's amazing, but she's also a fantastic writer, and she's been very proactive, even in getting other people involved and finding theatre news and reviews and PR contacts and things like that.
Yeah, that's what you want, isn't it? Often just one person can be a good gateway to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's when I'm like struggling to keep up, it's nice to be kind of have someone else like keep it rolling as well. And yeah, whenever other people get involved as well, then that's fantastic.
So tell me about your writing process then. Once you've identified a story, how do you bring it to life?
I think it's like talking to the people involved in the story, be it like artists, designers, musicians, actors, and also trying to identify a bit of a narrative with it. A central focus, I think, in a lot of Arts York articles, whether it's a feature review or interview, is the kind of passion behind it, because I think whatever's going on creatively, it's good to know about what can be kind of analysed from it and what kind of thoughts and feelings have gone into it.
So you've been doing Arts York for a few years now. Are there any particularly interesting stories that you're kind of really proud to have covered or to have been around for?
Yeah, one of the ones that I think really has kind of stuck with me was a really kind of what turned out to be a poignant interview with a band called Losers, who are a fantastic band. Another writer, Dom Smith, put me in touch with them. And They've been involved in like other bands, like Your Codename is Milo, Cooper Temple Claws. One of them is DJ for XFM, so it's quite an interesting deal for me. But then it turned into like one of them started talking about some of the mental health problems that they'd been having and that had inspired some of the music, which was quite an eye-opener. But I think also incredibly important to talk about and incredibly important that people do talk about, especially given how those kind of subjects affect people who are creative, I think, more than a lot of other types of people.
So what about right now? Who's doing really interesting things in York that maybe people might not know about?
I think there's a lot of really interesting like grassroots stuff going on in York. The list is endless, as long as you know where to look. But I think a few that I'll mention now is I saw a double bill of plays that I thought was really good recently by two theatre companies called Wild Goose Theatre and Reverse Theatre. Also, there's a sort of gaming and pop culture cafe that's opened in York recently called Random Encounter, and there's various things like art clubs going on there and computer games and board games and quizzes and stuff. Has a touch of the Fleeting Arms to it. And there's also like quite a few fantastic promoters. I think my personal favourite punk promoter, I hate to say it, a favourite, but it would be the BGB guys. They put on like consistently fantastic punk nights in York. Cool.
And you're a musician yourself?
Yes, I play bass guitar. I was in a punk band until, well, sort of punky, sludgy, doomy band until recently. Having a little break from that, and then I'll get back into it, hopefully with a new, equally as abrasive band.
So what do you think are some of the key issues facing the creative scene in York in 2018?
Much like the rest of the country, I think money is a big one. I feel like a lot more funding could go into the art scene all over the country, but including in York, that wouldn't normally happen.
What would you do with that money?
I think I'd use it to support a lot of companies that maybe just kind of struggle by. There's a lot of really good work that is a labour of love for a lot of people, and it's so high quality that I would say that it's as good as like some of the stuff in London or wherever that gets funding. But because they don't get any kind of funding, or they can't make it as sustainable a lot of the time, there's a lot of great projects that just fall away. And it'd just be nice to give people a boost and keep things rolling.
It seems in York we're missing space where people can take risks. We had, obviously, the Fleet in Arms a few years ago, which was a great place, where people could just put anything on. And then there was Stonebow House and a few other kind of blank canvas projects, which you put on an exhibition as well, didn't you, in Stonebow, on our floor, yes. Which we had. And there's so many interesting things going on there, and so many different people doing different things. And I'm still in touch with quite a few of those people now. But it seems we have much less of them now. I mean, there's the fire station last year. Did you get to any of the exhibitions there or any of the events?
I didn't. I wanted to, but I kind of felt like, for some reason, I got into my head that it would be on longer than it was. But it felt very much like as soon as it was being used for that, it was knocked down.
Yeah, I think they only had it for 3.5 months or something like that.
Yeah, very brief.
But it was cool, and they actually had the fire pole was still there, so I got to go down that a few times before they kind of realised it was a health and safety nightmare and had to close it.
Was it fun though before then?
It's fun, but it's a bit scary because you don't realise it's basically just like a 10 foot, not more than 10 foot, it's probably about a 15-foot drop to the floor. So if you kind of reach across and don't grab the pole, you just fall.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they closed it, but
yeah,
it was cool to go down.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have the guts for that. But.
So what are some misconceptions about York?
I think a lot of people view York as this stuffy, historic town with nothing going on except for like family events, and there's a lot of other stuff going on. As you said, there's so many grassroots projects going on, lots of people building their own companies and getting stuff going on. So you've got like punk nights, you've got galleries like, say, the Art of Protest gallery, who are a bit kind of, I want to say, edgier. And lots of like smaller, interesting stuff. Like some of my favourite things about a sort of self-made city like Berlin. You see or Manchester, you see bits of it in York now. And I think it's going to continue. I hope it's going to continue.
So what's next for you in 2018?
I think more writing, absolutely. And we'll see where it takes me, really. I think I'll carry on doing Arts York, of course. Keep copywriting, hopefully find another band, and hopefully do more drawing. And hopefully, on this complete side of that, doing a bit of travelling and whatnot.
Sounds like a good mixture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Twitter's a good one. My personal Twitter is @Dani_Barge, with one N and one I. And the Arts York Twitter is @ArtsYorkOnline. And the email address for Arts York is danielle.barge@artsyork.co.uk.
Cool, I can put all the links in the description.
Yeah.
That'll help people kind of click through.
Absolutely.
Cool. So if people want to get in touch with stories and things like that, then you're very open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me again. It's been good.